Good morning. A little more than a year ago, on February 24th, Russia invaded Ukraine. It was a major escalation of the Russo-Ukrainian War, which dates back to its beginning in 2014. The deaths number into the tens of thousands, and the refugee crisis in Europe is the largest since World War II. Today on Spotlight, an insightful conversation with retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, the former Director for European Affairs for the U.S. National Security Council. I'll talk to him about Ukraine, the country he was born in, the war with Russia, the Biden administration, his powerful testimony before the U.S. Congress, and yes, presidential politics. We caught up with the Purple Heart PhD soldier recently at the Weiser Center for Europe and Eurasia inside the International Institute Gallery at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. The evening before our interview, Dr. Vindman attended a candlelight vigil and spoke to a packed audience about the war in Ukraine 1 year later. Coming up, our conversation. It's Sunday, March the 5th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Lieutenant Colonel, thanks for sitting down with us. You recently spoke at the University of Michigan. What, in a nutshell, did you want to convey in those remarks, and what do you hope was the takeaway for the audience there?
A year into this geopolitical earthquake, that this war still matters for U.S. national security. What happens in Ukraine has a direct effect on U.S. security for the next generation. But it's important that we stay focused and we avoid the perils of Ukraine fatigue. And we take our eye off the prize and prevent Russia from snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.
When you saw recently that President Biden made his second visit to Poland in the year and he went over to Ukraine, your reaction?
It was probably not that much of a surprise to folks, policymakers that were paying attention. It would be difficult for the president to go to Poland without visiting Ukraine on the 1 year anniversary of the war, when the rhetoric around U.S. support to Ukraine is that we'll be there for as long as it takes. So it was not that closely held a secret. Certainly the Russians were also informed hours before. I think that conversation went something like—
Courtesy call, so to speak.
Not even a courtesy call. Hello, Vladimir. Biden's going to be there. Any questions? Something like that. What?
I saw on your Twitter account, you posted a picture of President Biden with a little caption, "Deal with it."
Well, it's basically, the bottom line is that the president wasn't asking for permission. He just wanted to make sure that his visit was uneventful. And the Russians are frankly terrified of engaging the U.S. directly in a confrontation, and they knew he was coming, and it was probably the quietest period in Kiev since the beginning of this war. But you asked a question that was a little bit different. You know, what is the significance? What it signifies is that the U.S. will be there for the long haul. The president said so. It would be politically untenable for the president to reverse course and somehow diminish support for Ukraine. The question is, to me, is not how long, but how much support we provide to Ukraine.
Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. Never. The United States, together with our allies and partners, are going to continue to have Ukraine's back as it defends itself.
Sometimes our rhetoric doesn't match our actions. It's not just the fact that we'll be there for the long haul. It's, do we give the Ukrainians all the weapons they need to win quickly? Because we need to remember that a long war is a dangerous war. We had a history in the 20th century of long wars in Europe eventually dragging us in. That's part of the calculation. The other part of the calculation is that Putin is going to eventually become potentially less reasonable, less logical, less, let's say, risk averse to provoke a confrontation. He might start to lash out, and that will happen over a longer time horizon. We could see these pinpricks of escalation. The sooner this war ends, the less dangerous it is for the U.S. public.
Is the U.S. giving Ukraine all that it needs right now?
No. We've made huge strides. I think at the beginning of the war, there were all sorts of equipment that were off limits. We weren't going to provide tanks. The president said, you know, if we provide tanks, that's World War III. I think he said that at the spur of the moment. He wasn't really a thoughtful comment. But all these things that we kind of established as almost red lines that we weren't going to get to, we blew past. And I have at times told this administration that the things that you thought were impossible are going to be the easy decisions. You need to start thinking a little bit further ahead about the kinds of decisions you're going to be compelled to make as this conflict escalates.
Probably the most recent line from that is that we said that we won't train their pilots to fly F-16s. Is that a mistake on our part?
I mean, it is going to play out the same way that all these other artificial red lines have. We'll end up eating our words.
Will we land on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in that regard, we should have learned, because we made those kind of red lines repeatedly throughout the war. We should eventually learn that we should probably not say things like that. There'll be let's say unforeseen events that will drive us to take those kinds of actions.
So from our vantage point, why are we sort of, from your perspective, kind of tiptoeing into things that we say we won't do and then we end up doing? What's the strategic advantage of doing that, if there is one?
There isn't a strategic advantage, but there's a lot of baggage in the relationship with Russia. The biggest challenges are that Russia, its predecessor, the Soviet Union, was a superpower. And we became very accustomed to dealing with a superpower and giving them a completely different kind of consideration than we give to other states. We look at the relationship with Ukraine through the Russian lens. We don't want to completely blow up that relationship with Russia. On the off chance that we'll be able to do more than we really can, or that the relationship could get worse. In fact, we're at a low point, and there's very, very little we could accomplish. We should cast off this idea of Russia as a relationship that we could somehow reform and rejuvenate, and focus all our efforts on Ukraine, which is frankly far more important at the moment, because Ukraine is defending the rules-based international system that has allowed the U.S. to prosper since World War II.
President Putin chose this war. Every day the war continues is his choice. He could end the war with a word.
What is it you think President Putin ultimately wants? This war has been going on for 9 years. Granted, the full-scale invasion is more recent, but they've been battling for quite some time.
Well, what Putin wants, and he has not been disabused of this notion entirely, is to subdue Ukraine. There's a famous quote from Jimmy Carter's National Security Advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski, that goes something like, Russia, absent Ukraine, ceases to become an empire, but with Ukraine subordinated and subordinate, automatically becomes an empire, to paraphrase. So it wants to be able to rebuild empire, and central to that project is Ukraine. He's hanging on to a kind of Russia that no longer exists, a much more weaker, fragile Russia. And the only way he resolves this issue in his mind, his aspirations with the realities, is through Ukraine's success on the battlefield. Eventually, he's just going to run out of military capacity to continue to wage war.
Can Ukraine win this war?
Yes. I think Ukraine is pretty much bound to win this war at this point. That is contingent on continued U.S. support. And frankly, I have to be fair that if China steps in and throws its weight and its military industrial complex behind Russia, it'll protract this war for years.
Do you think that's likely?
I think that it would seem foolhardy for China to do that. There are a lot of reasons that China might consider trying to prop up a like-minded dictator in the form of Vladimir Putin, but China would become even further isolated. Russia's already lost this war. Ukraine will not be destroyed. It will continue to endure as a sovereign independent state. Ukraine will actually continue to liberate territory. That's going to happen later on this year. Russia is conducting these winter offensives. It's going to try to make a big push with its forces. It's going to break itself and sap its strength. And then Ukraine, just like it did in the summer, will take advantage of Russia's weaknesses. They liberated Kherson and Kharkiv exactly in this way. They'll look for their opportunity and they'll strike and they'll continue to liberate territory.
What would make Putin stop and come to the negotiating table?
I think,
or will he ever
no,
come
he
to
will.
the negotiating table?
He will. It is an extremely difficult task to try to liberate Crimea. So at some point when Crimea becomes threatened, that's when he starts to negotiate in earnest. And I think this is a situation that's likely to unfold closer to the end of this year, but again, contingent on U.S. support. The things that already have been promised, the U.S. and the West delivers, and the next surge of equipment that's coming is just a matter of time.
Putin has slightly changed his tactic as of his most recent speeches. Before it was our war against Ukraine, now he's painting it as a war against the West.
Well, I think he's consistently used this rhetoric that this was always a war against the West, and this was a war to liberate, he called it liberate Ukraine from kind of Western control. In reality, this was always a war about Ukraine, and the West in general was kind of irrelevant. It was just a good propaganda tool, foil. The Biden administration, I think most policymakers are ironclad on this idea of not putting U.S. troops on the ground in Ukraine. Logical policy. We don't want U.S. troops, NATO troops facing off against the Russians. That's a recipe for a broader war. But that becomes more real the longer this war goes. Imagine a scenario in which there's a nuclear accident. All these nuclear plants, power plants that are on Ukrainian territory, one of them is attacked. There's a massive nuclear accident. The NATO may have to come in and secure the other plants to make sure that other radiological and nuclear disasters don't start to affect NATO territory. Right now, we need to recognize that this is a war that Russia is fighting against Ukraine. U.S. forces are not directly involved. We're providing Ukraine equipment, and that's the way it's going to stay for the foreseeable future. And we should also understand that for the support we've provided, it's not U.S. troops bleeding on Ukrainian soil. It's Ukrainians fighting this out. Ukrainians defending Western democracy. And they're doing it on the cheap. For 5% of the defense budget of the United States, Ukraine is destroying Russia's conventional military capability. We think about economical use of U.S. resources. This is probably about the most economical use of resources you can imagine.
I'm going to give you a chance just to sort of wet your whistle and catch your breath for just a second. We'll be back with more questions, and we'll talk about the price of freedom right after this. Lieutenant Colonel, President Biden, when he was in Poland, said this was a reminder that freedom is priceless and it's worth fighting for. He also said that the Ukrainians remind us every day what courage is. Contrast that against some Americans who are probably sitting here saying, okay, we spent close to $100 billion already on this. At what price? And how much? We certainly have needs here at home. Certainly a lot of neighborhoods and organizations that would like that kind of money. But the president is talking about something that sometimes people have a hard time envisioning, and that is, what is the price of freedom?
Sure. So I think we should first start with the premise that this is not a $100 billion investment in Ukraine. This is a $40 billion investment. The rest of that balance, it goes to replenish U.S. stockpiles for U.S. forces. So it's not, this is the price tag is not as high as the far right wants you to believe. That's just some smoke and mirrors there. Mm-hmm. But there's a good point to be made about investments in our own economy. I think if this was peacetime and we were not compelled to support a democratic nation defending itself against an aggressor, an authoritarian aggressor, of course it would be an important use of those resources to build roads and bridges and invest in education, retool the Midwest so that the workforce can be more competitive for the 21st century, the post-industrial age. These are extremely important investments, and we need to find a way to be able to service our own domestic interests as well as, frankly, cover down on our national security interests, things that allow the U.S. to continue to prosper, to make sure we have open trade and stability in Europe. We are now directly supporting a democratic country that's fighting for its freedom, its liberty, for their homes, to prevent Russian atrocities against their families, but fundamentally also defending a rules-based international system that our forefathers or our grandparents, the greatest generation, fought in World War II to be able to establish for us all. Out of that war and the 400,000 casualties that the U.S. bore, we managed to establish a system in which the strong did not prey on the weak, that basically the strong couldn't attack their neighbors and build empires. That was the price of that war that we paid with American lives. We're trying to avoid the same kind of future for the 21st century.
We have to have a security in Europe. It's that basic, that simple, that consequential.
Imagine for a second if Ukraine didn't have the same iron will, didn't have the same fortitude, and that Ukraine buckled like the Russians believed it would, that it fell. You could see a world in which Russia then looked for the next prize, continuing to expand its empire, threatening NATO, threatening European stability, that would undermine our ability to do business, and have to spend more U.S. treasure on defense. You could see the same thing in Asia, with China potentially thinking that this is the moment to strike out and seize Taiwan. We are, for a very modest amount, buying security for the 21st century. It's the core of our strength, the American workforce, the heartland here in Michigan and throughout the Midwest. And I'd like to see a more efficient application of resources to be able to do all these projects. But we can't forget about our obligations around the world that directly affect our own security.
All right, we're going to take another quick little break. We'll come right back right after this. Lieutenant Colonel, is there a chance that we may be seeing the very early signs of a World War III, or not even close to it?
I think we are in a Cold War already with Russia and with the authoritarian world. We have been for probably several years. World War III kind of connotes a broad, violent confrontation that consumes many, many different countries in terms of military conflict. We're not there. I think the only way we get to a World War III scenario is if this war runs for years. If we make the mistake of not providing Ukraine the support it needs to defeat Russia on the battlefield, and this drags out for years, there's a chance it could spill over. If we understand that premise, then we understand that we're very far away from World War III. But we could be in the precursor to World War III, and if we allow things to kind of drag out over a long period of time, we could get there.
You gave testimony to Congress that many people said led to the impeachment trial of President Trump. You also sued President Trump and his allies, claimed that they were bullying you because of the testimony that you gave. Courts ended up throwing that out. And we now have President Trump, some odd time later, saying he's going to run for president again, has tossed his hat in the ring. What does that say about America? What does it say about President Trump? And what does it say about you?
So I would say that, my understanding is a little bit different. I did the right thing. I reported corruption, and it put the wheels in motion to ultimately have the House conduct an investigation and ultimately impeach the president. Now, we have a political process in which the Senate, which was governed by Republicans, chose to acquit the president. But the American people saw that play out in front of them. They saw President Trump's corruption through that impeachment, and they saw a mismanaged COVID pandemic, and they chose to vote him out. That's a form of accountability, and I played some small role in helping hold the president accountable.
Do you think things have changed enough within the Republican Party that President Trump would or would not get the nomination?
So I think there's a good chance that he gets the nomination, depending.
Do you think he could win?
He cannot win. He
Why
cannot
not?
win because, we have a primary system in which really a relatively small portion of the electorate could push the president through to the candidate through to the general election. It only takes maybe 20% support. Former President Trump has that base of support. He has those hardcore MAGA Republicans.
And the more Republicans you get in the primary, he holds on to his base.
That's
and
right.
They split up the rest.
But in the general election, he was trounced in terms of the general election, if you think about it. He lost by a wide margin, 7 million votes, lost 5 states, lost by a significant margin. And that was before we had the insurrection, the January 6th insurrection. That was before this whole thing about him basically taking loads and loads of highly classified documents and using them, for whatever reason he was hanging on to them. That was before the fact that he continued to rally support behind Vladimir Putin at the beginning of this war, and even now basically contends that Vladimir Putin is a good guy. When the American public knows, they could see it with their own eyes that basically the Ukrainian people are heroic and Vladimir Putin's a barbarian. So he's taken his already diminished portion of the electorate and continued to kind of shave off pieces. So to me, he's unelectable. He might get through the primary, but he's not electable. And if the Republicans want to throw him in there to get devoured by the American public, so be it.
Final question, I want to be respectful of your time. Are you optimistic about Ukraine's future, and are you optimistic about America's future?
I'm optimistic about both. Journalists have a critical role in this process, informing the American public of things that matter, informing them so like this they could participate in the process and vote. What concerns me is as we transition out of war to peace, I would love to see Ukraine that's paid for American prosperity with their own blood and treasure convert being a democratic tiger into an economic tiger and enjoy some of that prosperity that it's bought at such a steep cost in blood. And I'd like to see the European Union and the U.S. Contribute to the rebuilding of Ukraine, making it, frankly, an economic an engine for growth that strengthens our Euro-Atlantic alliance.
Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for sitting down with us, spending so much time, and sharing your insight and your experience with our audience.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. Our thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Vindman and the good people at the University of Michigan. We'll be back in just a moment to bid farewell to a prominent Detroit religious leader. Stay with us. And finally today, our condolences to the family and friends of Father Norman Thomas, the people's pastor. The longtime leader of Detroit's historic Sacred Heart Church passed away last week at the ripe age of 92. The word retire was never a part of his vocabulary. He touched a generation of people, and he will be sorely missed by many, many people. Public viewing for Father Thomas and his services will be later this week. May he rest in peace. I'm Chuck Stokes. Good day.